I'm Katie, and today we're going to do a practice that's focused on your feet. So, for this practice, we will use some props, but I do think that even if you don't have the actual props, you'll have something in your house that will work. So, the first prop is a ball. I'm using a myofascial release ball. You could use any other ball that's about this size. So, if it's in the palm of your hand, like a tennis ball, lacrosse ball, anything you have around. Mine is a little bit squishy, but yours doesn't necessarily have to be. Then the other thing that we'll be using are blocks. So the blocks we'll only be using to make a forward fold a little less deep. So you could also use like a low coffee table, the seat of a chair, a book, anything like that. So get creative and then come on back. All right, so we'll begin with the ball and we're gonna roll out the bottom of the feet. So place the ball on your mat and then we'll start by rolling out the ball mounds of your toes. So your heel will be on the floor and the ball mounds of your toes land on top of whatever ball you found. And then you start to play with how much pressure you want to add. So we're looking for like a hurt so good kind of pain, like a really nice massage, not like searing agony. So you decide where you want to be. And then try your hardest to keep your arms relaxed at your sides. You'll notice throughout it, you might start to do weird things with your fingers. But so try to keep your arms relaxed. All right. So you have pressure in the front of your foot. And then we start to go side to side. And what we're doing is we're rolling out the fascia. So fascia is this like gooey webbing system that runs all throughout our bodies and it makes all these different parts of our bodies incredibly interconnected. And so sometimes when our fascia is hardened or has tension in one place, we then feel it somewhere else. So rolling out the feet can actually have great impacts on the rest of your body. Okay, now we'll shift to the toes. So we're going to spread the toes around the ball, and you can kind of play side to side with where you want to be. And then a fun thing to do is to see if you can pick up the ball with your toes. I can never do it, but I do always try. Okay, and then when you're done with that, we're going to roll up and down the arch of the foot like this. And then as you do it, you can stay in the middle. Also, make sure you get into your inner arch, the outer edge of your foot. So you're just sort of exploring all around. So the fascia runs throughout our bodies. And then when it gets to the foot, it sweeps under it like a stirrup. And so sometimes when people have like low back pain or neck pain or a lot of tightness in the hamstrings, sometimes it's the feet. So it's a nice thing to do for your feet and for yourself and for your whole body. And this is something that doesn't always have to be a part of a bigger movement routine. It's a great way to start a movement practice and begin anything you're doing, whether it be, a yoga asana, weightlifting, whatever. But it's also something you could do while you're brushing your teeth or cooking dinner. And I kind of keep these balls scattered around. So make sure you really get the inner arch. And then we're going to go the other way. So side to side the other way. And then we'll do the heel. So the heel of your foot will rest on the ball and your toes will rest on the mat, kind of like you're wearing a high heeled shoe. And then you start to go side to side. And the heel for me is not where I feel the most. But different people will feel it in different places depending on the shape of your foot and your life and what shoes you wear and all that kind of stuff. I also find that this feels very different times that I do it. This is great if you've been wearing heels. Holiday season, very pretty, very uncomfortable shoes. Okay, and that'll be enough for the right foot. So now just pause for a moment in between the two sides, stand up tall. If it's comfortable for you, close your eyes. And just take a nice, slow, low breath in. And then a sigh out. Again, slow, low in. Sigh out. Last one. And drop your awareness down to your feet. And notice any differences between the right and the left side. For me, it almost feels like more surface area of my right foot is touching the mat than my left. And sometimes I think that's because we wake up the nerve endings in the fascia, which just sort of allows us to be more aware of what we're feeling. Okay, excellent. Now we'll bend the knees and take a nice forward fold. This is not a big deal. You don't need to take some big crazy folds. And while you're here, notice if you can feel anything different between the right leg and the left leg. And really the whole right side of your body. So for me, my hamstrings on my right side feel a lot looser now. And my right arm almost feels like a little longer or a little heavier. And you can come back to stand. And if you felt none of those things or different things, that's great. Let's do the other side. Okay, so again, we start with the ball mounds of the toes, heels on the mat, and we go side to side. So our feet are these like biomechanical marvels. They are so complex and intelligent, and 25% of your body's bones are in your feet. That one is always crazy to me. And so they're these really like kind of magical things, and we're some of the only species that walk on 2 feet. Maybe the only. Is there something I'm not thinking about? Anyway, so they're really like evolutionarily amazing, but we don't really treat them that way. Okay, switch to your toes. You know, in society, they're kind of like gross or weird or whatever, and we don't tend to care for them. We just kind of shove them in shoes, and we might go work out the rest of our body and not once think about our feet. And I think it's a really nice practice to come back to, and to take care of them. And so important as we go through life and as we age to retain our mobility and our ability to like move around throughout the world. It's really important that we pay attention to our foot health. Okay, so now we'll switch to the arch. Back and forth, outer edge, inner edge. And I read this thing that said that the average person walks 100,000 miles in their lifetime. And you do it all on these feet. And don't lose your ball. And that I think is really incredible and really nice to take care of them. Okay. And then we side swipe the other way. I'm gonna just turn around. Could you tell I was doing the weird finger thing? All right. And then the heel, so like you're wearing a high-heeled shoe, toes are on the mat. And again, side to side. One of my dad's like favorite fun facts is that Serena Williams like workout regimen involves like an hour spent on her feet. And now I kind of love it too. So we're doing Serena proud. Okay. And then we can get rid of the ball. You can throw it away or do whatever you want. And just take another moment standing, feeling your feet on the earth. Let your breath be slow, low, and even. Breathing in for 4, and then breathing out for 4. In for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay with your breath. Imagine roots growing down from your feet, down beneath your mat, beneath the floor that you're standing on, beneath the foundation of the building you're in, down into the dirt, deep, deep, deep. And then a little golden thread at the center of your head pulls you up tall. And so you're grounded down and you're lifted up, and it's just you in the center. Slow breath in through the nose, sigh out through the mouth. Good. Okay, let's come down to the mat. We'll make our way into tabletop position. We're going to do a little bit of cat-cows, and we'll do some things with the feet as we do it. So for tabletop position, we'll stack shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, press down through all 10 fingers and through the whole top side of your feet. As we inhale, we'll drop the belly, look up, cow. As you exhale, tuck your toes round your spine, cat. Inhale, untuck the toes, look up. Exhale, tuck the toes, round the spine, gaze towards belly button. And keep going with your breath. Making this a breath practice as much as it is anything else. And taking this time in your body to do it sweetly, gently, with a lot of care. The next time your toes are tucked, start to walk your hands back so you're sitting on your heels with tucked toes. When you get there, I always have to use my fingers to untuck my pinky toes. They get a little stuck. So you might need to do the same. If this feels like a lot, walk your hands forward. You can place your hands anywhere on your mat. You could even have your hands on your thighs. But if you can, you'll start to sit up. And this can be a lot. So if it feels intense, know it does for me too. And it's a lot, but we won't be here for too long. We'll stay with our breath. And we'll imagine that the bottoms of our feet are like lungs. And we're opening them up so we can fill them up and fill into new space that we're finding. And then we use our breath as an anchor in the discomfort. And instead of running from it, we get curious about it. And we know that it too will end. Okay, walk your hands forward gently, gently, gently. Release your feet. Let the tops of your feet rest on the mat. Kind of come back to neutral. Maybe you do a little tippy tappy with the tops of the feet. And then we'll walk our hands forward, tuck our toes under. We'll just take one downward facing dog because it feels great. Pushing the mat away, spiraling the shoulders away from the face. Breathing into the sides of the body, getting nice and long. And maybe take a little pedal through the feet here, bending one knee at a time. To get a nice little stretch in the backs of the legs. And then we'll look forward and take a nice slow walk up to the top of the mat. So this is the part where you will want either blocks, coffee table, chair, whatever. So we're going to stay in a forward fold here. Your blocks will be in front of you, hands on them. This is not really about the fold. So if you're fighting to have your hands on the floor, don't. It's not what this is about. Okay. We'll start with the right foot crossing in front of the left. Untuck your toes so that the shoelace side of your foot is down and pointed like this. And then make sure your blocks are framing the left foot. And then you can start to bend your left knee, which will push the top of your right foot down and can feel like, woo, wow. And so you can kind of ease into it, pressing and then releasing. And you decide how far you want to or can go. You can play with different orientations of the feet to get a little bit of a stretch in a different parts. Like I'm bringing my pinky toe a little bit forward so I get into that outer edge a little bit. And then you could play with the big toe side. It's an exploration, and a moment to move a part of your body that you might not move that often. And when you're ready, you'll release the right foot. Take a little moment, maybe wiggle out the feet. Let's inhale and reach up, look up. Exhale, interlace the fingers behind your back and just take a nice little shoulder rinse, because why not? Pull your knuckles down towards the mat, puff your chest up, look up, breathe in. Exhale, bend your knees, pitch your chest forward and fold. And maybe you knock your hands from side to side. And then release them to your low back and gently down to the mat. And we'll take the second side. So hands are on blocks. Blocks frame the right foot. The left foot steps in front and the shoelace side of the foot goes down. And then we bend the right leg any amount, getting a nice stretch through the top of the foot. And again, you can change the orientation of your toes a little bit so that you get into different sides. And just try to stay with your breath, stay in your body. Ooh, I found an interesting spot. And when you find somewhere that's interesting to you, stay there. Okay, and then you'll release. Again, maybe give the feet a little wiggle around, and we'll come back down to the mat. You can scoot your blocks off to the side. We're gonna sit on the mat. So blocks away. Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. So soles of feet together, knees are wide. And for this, it doesn't really matter how close your feet are to you. You can sort of decide. Again, the focus is the feet, so it doesn't really matter for these purposes. But settle yourself in, sit up tall, and then look down at your feet. Kind of cool. Look at the way that they meet. So the way that your heels meet your heels, and then maybe there's a gap where your arch is. And maybe there's a gap all the way through to the floor. Like I can see all the way to my mat. And then notice what's going on at the top of your feet. So like for me, a lot of my toes don't meet. So my big toes don't meet. My second toes don't meet. They start meeting later on. Interesting. And then just take your thumbs inside your feet, your fingers outside, and just start to give yourself a nice little massage. So in a lot of different wisdom traditions, there's a lot of different feelings about feet, and they're really important. So like in traditional Chinese medicine, there's all these different acupressure points on your feet, and they correlate to the meridian lines and to different organs in the body. And it's this super kind of like potent concentration of these pivotal kind of energy points in the body. Really interesting stuff. And then with your hands, you can try to like open your feet like a book almost, and play with that for a minute. And then you have other traditions like Katona yoga, and they view feet as these portals to the earth. And it's both our metaphorical and physical foundation. And if you go see some really cool Katona teachers, they will read your feet, and they are able to tell so much about what's going on in the rest of your body by what's happening in your feet, which is really cool. So just give them a little bit of love. And then if you want, you can take a nice little walk forward and just enjoy the nice Baddha Konasana fold. And a couple nice breaths. And then you'll make your way back up. And our last thing today will be legs up a wall. So if you're near a wall, do it on the wall. If you're not and you have blocks, you can do it with the block. So I'll show you how to do it with a block, but you can always do this anywhere on the wall. So if you're doing it on the wall, literally just legs up the wall. Try to get your hips as close to the wall as possible. If you're doing it on a block, you'll come to lie down. And then you'll bend your knees, plant your feet, lift your hips. The block comes underneath your hips. It should sit on below your sacrum. So your sacrum is that flat kind of bony piece at the base of your spine. That's what you're looking for. And then we'll take our legs up from here. And the idea is that this is really like nice and relaxing, not an ab workout. So if you're having to use a lot of effort to keep your legs lifted, scooch the block a little further away from you. So like that way, so that you're kind of tilting off this ledge and your feet and legs are just sort of floating. And if it's still not working, go to a wall. So now that we're here, you can begin to roll your ankles one way and then the other. You might hear a lot of snap, crackle, popping. I certainly am. And you can keep going. Again, noticing any kind of like that feels interesting to me, kind of flexing my big toes away. So play around. You can point and flex. The other thing I like to do when I'm in this pose is take my hands behind my knees and give myself like a really nice gentle massage. There's a lot of lymph stuff going on back there. So this can feel really good. And then settle, decide where you want your hands, maybe on your body. I always like my hands over my head when I'm in this position. And we'll take 3 rounds of an extended exhale. So we'll breathe in for a count of 4, and then we'll breathe out for a count of 6. So inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 6. And then let the breath return to its natural rhythm. Let go of any control, so much so that your body is breathing you. If you have time, stay. Please stay here just like this. Or you could drop your legs down and take a traditional Shavasana. But if you have time, I encourage you to stay. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Your feet thank you. I thank you. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day and enjoy your rest if you're taking it. Bye.